Welcome, everyone. This is actually our first episode today, and I wanted to start by saying thank you to those who are listening in for the first time. And welcome to Derek Jones. Derek Jones is a photographer who is actually, in my opinion, just brilliant at what he does because it is mixing a lot of what he sees as a concert goer at times, because a lot of things that he's capturing are these live performances by other artists as well. So he's worked with Glass Magazine, Jumeirah Magazine, and so many other publications as well. So Derek, how are you today?
I'm great. How are you?
This is exciting. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, no problem.
So the reason why we're here is because we are highlighting different people who collaborate with Anastasia Elliott, Anastasia being a wonderful performer, a favorite of mine. And we wanted to do these series because there's a lot of collaboration happening with different artists. And I particularly love that because it really expands our creativity. And there's just so much that we do collaboratively, I think, that most people don't understand as artists. So talk to me about how you got started in your own work, and then we'll kind of flow into how you're working with Anastasia.
I got started in concert photography prior to concerts and stuff. I just was like a hobbyist. I just like taking pictures of clouds and stuff. And I signed up for a few college courses in photography. And for one of my projects, it was try to shoot something out of your comfort zone. And I thought, hey, I could shoot some concerts. And I reached out to a local band in Syracuse, New York, and asked them if I could shoot a couple of their shows just for fun for my project. And someone had seen some of my photos and asked me if I wanted to join a magazine. And next thing you know, I've been doing it for like 8 years.
Oh, wow.
Chasing bands around. And yeah, I just love concerts a lot. So I just kind of fell down the rabbit hole of it. And music is like my favorite thing. So I kind of,
That's brilliant. Yeah, I like how you just kind of said, what would be interesting? Let me try this. And then your work really led the way to opening doors. And when you first got published, like, what was that feeling like?
Awesome. I love it. I loved it in the sense that a lot of people, that weren't previously seeing any of my stuff, all of a sudden my Instagram started, getting more followers, and then bands started sharing my photos. And I think that's my favorite part, is when like a band I love shares one of my photos on their social media. It just makes me feel like, really accomplished, I guess.
Yeah, that's amazing. Do you see that when the bands are using are they allowed to use your photos for their self-promotion? Like, how does that work?
Yeah, they can, especially if it's like, for the magazine and stuff. They just reach out and say, hey, can you send us a Dropbox of these photos? And I usually, I never care. I just love that they're as long as they tag me, that's all I care about, really.
That's amazing because your work is superb. I love the way you really get into the action. It feels like I'm right there. I feel like I'm sitting right underneath the performer. Like, how do you get that close? Is it just something that they're like, oh, it's that guy that I know that takes photos, let him get close?
They let us get really close for the first 3 songs usually. They give you like the first 3 songs to shoot as many shots as you can, and then they make you like either put your camera away or you just kind of got to fade into the crowd and take some photos. But yeah, usually I get the chance to shoot the first 3 songs of every band that I see, which is fun.
Good to know. Yeah, I was wondering, it's like, man, that looks so close.
Yeah.
It gives me the feeling of like actually having been there, right? And like having front row kind of presence. That's pretty amazing.
That's my favorite part, is when the bands walk out on stage and I know that I'm the closest person to them, because you know what I mean? I get the prime spots right up front for it. Like, the photo pit is usually right in the barrier of where the fans have to be. So I get like one step in front of them. It's awesome.
Have you ever attended something where you're like, I'm not into this music?
Yeah. There have been a few times bands that I thought were going to be awesome that just kind of came out and they just didn't really feel like they wanted to be there, you know, for whatever reason. Those are always disappointing times, but it's rare.
Yeah. But how did you get hooked up with Anastasia? I see that you photographed like Dave Matthews,
Yeah.
Clutch, Wu-Tang Clan. Like that's amazing. But how did you connect with Anastasia?
Well, I actually interviewed her for one of the magazine's Glass a few years ago, maybe 3 years ago. I got an email from her publicist, and they'd sent me her music video, and I really liked it. And I was like, hey, I want to interview this person. And our interview, like, you know, like we really connected. And then she was on tour in Austin, Texas. So I ended up getting the chance to shoot one of her live shows. And we've been like, you know, close ever since. And yeah, I mean, that's how I got connected with her. You know, like I shot some photos for her, and you know, then she's like, hey, do you want to help work on some projects? And next thing you know, like, you know, we're just creating all kinds of stuff together.
I like that when you find like a creative match. And from the things that I've heard her say was that you understand the concepts that she's trying to put out. And I think that's really neat when you have somebody who's in a different genre working with somebody in the visual space. And those two things really do need to meld together, because that's how we reach the public as a whole. Now, when you have a challenge, let's say, because maybe you're not quite understanding parts of her vision, like how do you two creatively get to that same page?
It sounds kind of like, I don't want to say like we force it to happen, but we like when things aren't exactly flowing as well, which is rare for us, but like if we're trying to figure out an idea, we literally will stick with it till 3-4 in the morning, you know, until we get it right to where we're both happy. So for example, like we've had photo shoots go late into the night because we'll both be like, this isn't exactly what we were hoping for. So we will like come up with tons of ideas and just try to like make any of them work until it really feels right to us. Usually it happens, you know, like the first try, but sometimes, you know, we'll both be like stuck in hell. You know, she's really good at like saying, what if we tried this? What if we tried that? And, you know, just like grabbing ideas out of the air. So we always just kind of like push it until it finally works.
I like that. I think that's going to be one of my big takeaways from this interview for sure, because I think some people give up too easy, or they give up too easily on like their creative partners and things too. But I like how you both are sticking to it. Like, you know that there's going to be something that emerges, and then eventually you're going to get there. Now, I know with a lot of artists, when they're especially more independent, that there's a lot more hands-on that they normally would be doing. And I've met with some people, and I've just seen this throughout the years, that even when you watch how certain movies have gotten made, sometimes on that restricted sense, it actually forces more creativity. Do you find that that's what's happening from time to time when maybe funding is a little bit tight, that you have to be more creative?
Yeah, for sure. Especially what, you know, like if it were up to either of us and we had unlimited resources, we could like come up with the most elaborate, crazy things possible. Like, you know, everything from just like the visual backgrounds and stuff. So sometimes we have to literally buckle down and figure out how to make something visually look exactly like we want it to on like a limited budget, whether we're like creating, you know, colors in with various different paints that we find, or like going to thrift stores and finding like materials, and just, you know, hey, we want this cloudy background, and we find all this like cotton from like a ripped up mattress we find somewhere. So like we just are good at being resourceful, but yeah, we definitely are good at creating a lot from very little.
I think those are my favorite stories, although, you know, I feel for the artists, but it's like when you're on the outside, the kind of watching, you're like, oh, look what they did. And the artist is like, you don't even want to know like how much blood, sweat, and tears until we got to this point. So I definitely admire that. What is your goal with all of the work that you've amassed, and, you know, you've been published and everything too? Like, do you foresee like the next year being any different, or what's your goal?
Well, our goal is basically, we're creating like a comprehensive, I, like, well, she has an artist project that we're working on, and the goal with me at least is to help facilitate the visuals, whether it's photography, video, any type of like content related things. So our goal is to create like visuals and imagery that coincide with every song that she's going to be releasing within the next year. So I'm going to be part of a lot of those projects, and helping her create the visual elements. So it's not just like, hey, we released this song, but we're going to incorporate all the visual design elements and every vision she has inside of her head with each video and song. So it's like, I'm basically going to be doing photography and some video for all that. So, it's going to be a busy year of creating all of these, photo shoots and video shoots and things. I can't really give like specific details of them all the way because a lot of it's a secret.
Yeah.
But everything we do is going to have like a really deep, profound visual element to it. And I'm trying to help make all that happen so that it, so people can really understand what she's about.
Absolutely. We appreciate that as people who want to like, definitely be witness to how everything's evolving. Thank you for your work for sure. How do you balance work for particular artists with other work that you might be doing in your own other fields of interest?
Be really good at scheduling time blocks for everybody, I guess.
Yeah.
Coming up with rigorous schedules, because sometimes, projects like with her, especially, we can like end up working a lot longer. So just staying committed to like framing out time, because I do work with other artists and do photography for various different things and shooting just shows. So having like a structured life really definitely helps keep us organized and, working hard, I guess.
I believe that it will pay off because I know that great work can't be ignored. And I think because of the process you both are in, but you in particular being so dedicated to the work that you're doing with others, and then also dedicated to staying on the ball when it comes to expansion of your own portfolio, I think it's going to be one of those things that people just aren't going to be able to ignore for too long. So, Everybody remember the name Derek Jones, but also you have the website Scarlet Reverie. So how did you come up with that name?
That's a good question. Honestly, red is like my favorite color. It represents, passion to me. And I definitely have a passion for all of the things that I do in the music world and photography. And it's kind of like, a reverie is kind of like a daydream, and I find myself dreaming up random ideas, and I have a passion for creativity, so I guess I kind of combine the two, my habit of daydreaming, and just kind of, I want artists and people that work with me to feel like I can help make their dreams and visions come true, their daydreams. And that's kind of like, my inspiration with Anastasia is that I could sit there and say, I have this random crazy idea for a photo shoot. And she, instead of laughing or being like, that'll never work, she's like, let's figure out how we can make it happen. And I kind of want to do that with anybody in the photo or video world, where they'll come to me and say, I have this band, we have this crazy wild idea. And instead of laughing about it, I literally try everything I can to make those things happen for them. So yeah.
That's brilliant. I also like some of the and I never pronounce this right. Is it a GIF or a GIF?
I think it's a GIF.
It's a GIF. Okay. I really like the GIFs because it adds a different element altogether. Is that you making those? Because yeah, I love them. And I think like more people should be using them. It's just neat.
It's funny. I watched a video a long time ago on how to make them in Photoshop, because I'm like really good at Photoshop. So I have actually, that's one of my things that I've been doing a lot lately with Anastasia is creating like really cool gifts. I have a Christmas one that she's going to release soon that I just created, and I'm like, hey, that's pretty neat. I'm trying some different random techniques of things, not just like the photo splicing, but there's one that's coming out that I'm like really proud of because I never realized that I could figure out how to do it, and now I'm like, hey, it's pretty cool.
That
It's
is
fun.
amazing. It is fun. And I know that there's also other emerging technologies coming up, and that as creatives, we all have to start tapping into like what's going to go on with things that evolve into even like more of the virtual reality or alternative reality stuff. Like, what's your opinion about what's coming up in the future for artists?
Uh, Immersive visual technology. Obviously the VR headset stuff, like interactive. I think interactive concert experiences where people can put on a headset from their living room and like feel like they're live at a concert right in front of the artist. I've actually thought about it, and I'm sure there are bands doing this already, but just setting up these cameras in the front where I take photos and giving them like that bird's eye perspective. I think that kind of stuff, NFT things. I don't really know a ton about NFTs, but I know a lot of bands are starting to get into that in terms of like creating for the future and
Visual artists too. Like I've definitely seen a lot of people talking about how to create NFTs with their visual work. And since you're kind of starting to open up to that, I can definitely see some of your work being very, at least in my opinion, valuable in that space, like on set. So I think you'll be positioned very well.
Yeah, I actually, during the holidays when I have downtime, I'm going to be like researching NFT stuff like crazy, just so that I really understand what it is.
Yes. Oh, I'm still scratching the surface as well. So it's going to be pretty wild. Like, and I know there's a lot of talk about like 3D hologram type of things with the whole meta things happening. So I think because you're always committed to your work, I wouldn't be surprised to see like a to Derek Jones produced like 3D something happening in the future. That's amazing.
I'd love to get more in holograms.
Yes. Yeah.
I don't know why. I like just even the card holograms from when I was a kid. I think that, I don't know, like I know it's probably a lot of laser technology that goes into that stuff, but I think that it's one of those things I'd like to experiment with for a little while.
I think that would be amazing. I just think anything that is capturing the imagination, the Scarlet Reverie, the whole daydream thing definitely is very thought provoking. And you also do other work that's not just performance based and things like that. I know that when it comes to portraits, etc. What's your take on landscapes and portraits? Like how do you approach those subjects?
Well, like landscapes are always my like I don't know, it's like a way to get out there and relax. I love hiking and hiking and wandering the earth. So I see a lot of cool landscapes. I like taking pictures of like storm cells in the Midwest. That's always fun. Portraits are like my favorite thing to do. Creating in a studio lighting is awesome. And I don't know, that's like beyond concerts. That's probably my favorite thing to do because it allows me to be like creative, high fashion modeling, creating sets and scenery for a photo shoot. It allows me to like create the world that I shoot, not just like, when you're shooting a concert, you kind of are limited to whatever the artist does. So if the band just stands there, you're stuck with band photos where they're just standing there. But if I'm creating something in the studio, I can make the person do whatever I want them to, create that imagery that really speaks to my level of creativity, I think.
There's a portrait on your website that I just really absolutely love. And I don't know who your model is, but she's wearing gold rings on her neck and she has like a big gold earring. And it just looks like it's a mix between like a Victorian portrait and a tribal portrait and like a dream. So I'm like, whoa, like something about it. And it's the way her face and like you really captured a good look. So what was that like to shoot a concept like that?
Well, that's fun. I have like an obsession with like old school Hollywood glam style headshots. where like
yes.
there's jewelry, there's like really, I mean, that like sparkly, you know what I mean? Like the Elizabeth Taylor headshot type stuff. I don't know. I've always had like obsession with that kind of stuff. So when I was in college, I did a lot of those types of headshots in the studio, and I'm like always doing them randomly here and there. I'm actually trying to set up a couple right now, but it's my favorite thing to shoot is like headshots featuring jewelry and really good makeup and earrings, that kind of stuff, like really powerful headshots.
I think if anyone's listening who's a jewelry brand, you have to check out this website, because I'm just thinking, like, I've never seen a campaign that would be like this in that style. I just think someone can take a really good advantage of your eye and how you see things like that, because I could imagine seeing a whole series of like a very creative jewelry designer like taking advantage of that particular look and style. There's just something about it. So I commend you for that kind of work, because some people are just like, it's like I've seen a lot of people's work and I wouldn't be able to distinguish like whose work is that versus somebody else's. But in some of your pieces, I'm like, wow, that's a really definite style that I haven't really seen a lot of people do. So I really like that. So if anyone's listening, and I might forward this to some people, so you might be like, why is she forwarding this to me? Because I'm talking to you. You got to go to Scarlet Reverie. And I'm going to spell that out. SCARLETREV as in Victor, ERIE. So go to that.com and just check out these portraits. They're amazing. So any other words you'd like to say before we go, Derek?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just excited to get into all the things that I'm going to be doing in the next year. And I just encourage everybody, to pursue their passions and pursue their creative endeavors. I mean, sometimes I think in my life, I've spent a lot of time kind of doing what other people wanted me to, but I did not spend enough time nurturing my creative side. And I feel like right now I'm hitting a stride with that. And I just encourage everybody else to, whether it's photography, videography, whatever, art, painting, whatever, just, spend some time nurturing those things, because it's good for, de-stressing and, just, it makes you feel good when you get the chance to create things that are inside your head.
I think it's an amazing legacy, because no one's going to care about how much bank you made throughout life. But if you leave behind exciting work, and a lot of your creativity will last a lifetime and lifetimes ahead, I think that's so amazing. So thank you for what you do. It's certainly inspiring. Thank you for supporting the A-listers here for Anastasia Elliott. We really appreciate that. And we'll probably get you back on so we can interview you about some of the work that you're coming out with, since we can't really talk about that at this moment. So there might be some questions that we have in the future. So thank you for your time today, Derek.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
Amazing. All right. So everybody listening, feel free to check out the websites that we've mentioned. Definitely follow Anastasia Elliott and be part of the A-listers. We would love to have your support. What our goal is to make sure that we set an example for other independent artists by showcasing our support as people who just want to make sure that there's good art and good performances out there. And in turn, if y'all have any questions about how we're organizing this, if you'd like to sponsor anything of Anastasia Elliott, feel free to reach out. We love collaborators. So until the next episode, we will see you later. Bye, everybody.
Bye.